In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I welcome you, dear students, in Pakistan International School Taif's virtual learning class for first year biology. This is our lecture number 14, and today we are going to continue our chapter number 2, that is biological molecules. And today's topic is the continuation of the previous one, that is properties of water, as well as we'll start, inshallah, carbohydrates. So let's get started. Dear students, yesterday we have discussed about properties of water. In that we have studied high polarity. Due to this quality, all these properties which we are going to study, water is the universal solvent. So here we have discussed about that instead it is a covalent bond between water molecules, but there is partial positive and partial negative sign around like hydrogen ions and oxygen ions, or hydrogen and oxygen atoms. They got partial positive and partial negative charges, so that's why they got high polarity. So they water is polar solvent, a polar, and it is having polar covalent bond as well. Number 2 property, we have discussed about hydrogen bonding, and we know that water molecules are in close contact with one another with the help of this hydrogen bonding, because this hydrogen atom is making the bond with other oxygen atom of the other water molecule. So that's why it is having hydrogen bonding between them, and this is easily broken, but it needs a certain energy level. Okay, so right now we are gonna see number 3rd one, that is cohesion and addition. In cohesion and addition, co means among one another, of the same kind, like it is the attraction among the water molecules which enable the water molecules to stick together. With this quality, water is able to move freely in any place. But it is also having the addition quality. Addition means the contact or the attraction of these water molecules, like these water molecules with the container, and where they are placing with the polar molecules as well, we can say, like with other molecules. So these two qualities of water make the water to run, to flow, to move easily. Next quality is, or next property of the water is high specific heat. If we talk about high specific heat, actually it is the amount of energy. Which type of energy? That is heat energy. It is the amount of energy which is utilized or which is needed to rise temperature about 1 degree Celsius. 1 degree Celsius or 1 degree Kelvin temperature rise. When it rises up, the energy which is required to raise that temperature, that is called heat capacity. So that is heat capacity. But if we talk about high heat capacity of water, so to raise 1 degree centigrade of water, we need how much energy for 1 gram of water? Like to heat up 1 gram of water, up to 1 degree Celsius, how much energy is required from like its normal temperature to its 1 degree temperature? So that is 1 calorie, or that is equal to 4.18 joules. So this water is relatively having high heat capacity. Why it is having high heat capacity? That is due to the hydrogen bonding which is between them. To break up these hydrogen bonding, it requires energy. So just you can take example when we just keep water on the stove and we turn on the heat, so water boils up quickly? No, it needs some time, and that time which is required to raise 1 degree Celsius, so that is its heat capacity, and that is 4.18 joules. We know that calories is the unit of energy, so heat is also the form of energy. Yes, we know that is kinetic energy. So when they absorb heat energy, so we know that that is like kinetic energy of the molecules increases. When they increases, they start to boil. When they get as much energy that the water gets too much energy and they vibrate so much, and they just started to move up, and by breaking the bond with other molecules, so that's why that is its heat capacity, specific heat. That is its specific heat. So this is the reason, or this is the property, that due to high heat capacity, water works as temperature stabilizer or regulators for organisms in a hot environment, and hence protects the living material against sudden thermal shocks. Like in summer, if temperature raised up to 40 to 45 degrees Celsius, but our body maintains that temperature by certain ways, and the water does not get evaporated, does not get boiled in our body, because uh, like that can be heat absorber as well. So the molecules absorb the heat, just try to break down the bonds, but it is like because we that need too much heat, so that doesn't happen in our body, that what like sudden thermal changes uh, can occur in our body. So because that is temperature stabilizer, so it protects the living materials, because the whole of the body is made up of the water. High heat capacity of vaporization. So heat of vaporization is the amount of heat required to convert unit mass of liquid in gaseous form. This is as a little bit similar to its specific heat capacity, but here is heat of vaporization. You know vaporization, like changing of water molecules, like water molecules into the gas form. So when it changes into the gas form, that is called vaporization process. And the heat which is required to get it vaporized or get it into the gaseous form, that is called heat of vaporization. So water is having high heat of vaporization. So it can be represented as number of calories absorbed per gram vaporized. Like 1 gram of water, how much energy it is absorbed, it is getting inside, how much calories it is getting inside to vaporize or to make it in the gas form. That is 574 calories per gram. So what happened? This is a very, very important quality or property of the water. For example, this is a container, and in that there are water molecules, and water molecules are present here. Now we are giving heat to it. So to make it in the gas form, it needs too much energy. Why? If we just make some more molecules of water, so these are the layers of water molecules. First they will get heat energy, and their kinetic energy started to rise up, and they are started to move, so they break up the hydrogen bonds. So they will move upward. Okay, then they will get more energy, and then they will move upward. So to vaporize it, it needs a lot of energy to come from here up to into the atmosphere, because water molecules are attracted via cohesive forces with the hydrogen bonding. So these hydrogen bondings are broken down, and it needs too much energy. So while the molecules, some molecules vaporize, because these molecules which are vaporized, they accept or they absorb lots of energy from these lower layers of molecules. So these molecules lower down their heat energy or their kinetic energy. So here the temperature gets decreased, and the vaporized form temperature gets increased, but the remaining one, when some of the water vaporized, so the remaining one got the temperature decreases. So here is the cooling effect. So this is the main reason. So now we are gonna see that this property is very, very important regarding in the temperature changes process, or temperature changes in the summer. So when we sweat, what happened? That water which is present near to our body surface, that just sweats by taking heat from the body and heat from the surrounding as well, because outside it's too much hot. So it sweats out, like it evaporates here. Vaporization is done, just little water, and this water when comes out, the water which is left in our body, it gives cooling effect to the body. So after sweating we feel cold, a little bit cool. So that maintains the body temperature. So it means from 2 ml, it means that from 1 liter of water, if 2 ml gets evaporated, 998 ml of water gets cooled down. Its temperature is lower down by 1 degree Celsius. Okay, let's talk about the next property that is also very important, because water is, we know that polar covalent bond is having polar covalent bonding, and it is polar covalent molecule, and so it just it, it allows polar covalent molecules or some polar substances to mix with or dissolve with it in it. But the substances which are not dissolved in that, they are called hydrophobic. And as you know, hydrophobic means, hydro means water, phobic means hater. So it these substances hate the molecules, hate the water actually. Hydrophobic exclusions means that reduction of contact area between water and hydrophobic substances which are placed in water. Like contact area is reduced. For example, we mix oil drops in the water, because we know that oil is very good hydrophobic substance. So when it like dissolved in water, it just distributed into small droplets. But when we just keep it as at a side for some time, this is water, for example. So these are the drops of oil. So what happened after some time, the oil start to make a layer. Like when we dissolve it, uh, it doesn't dissolve, but it makes smaller drops in it. So these smaller drops have greater surface area. So it, because they are hydrophobic, so they just move away from them, and all these molecules are just stick together with one another. They are making contact with one another. They make a big molecular big layer or big drop on the surface of the water. So hydrophobic exclusions play an important role in maintaining the integrity of lipid bilayer membranes. As you have studied in grade 9, that uh, a fluid mosaic model, that cell membranes are mostly made up of lipids, so they are hydrophobic. So it means they are not dissolved in water. So that is good to maintain the integrity of these membranes. Let's talk about the next property, that is ionization. We know that when uh, dissociation of any molecule or breakdown of any molecule is done, so that is called ionization, means the molecule is broken down into ions, or they are formed into ions, means it releases an equal number of positive hydrogen ion and equal number of negative hydroxyl ions. So that is happens in water. Mm, when water molecule is ionized, it's broken down. So what happened at almost 25 degrees, its equilibrium is established again, like how many water molecules, so how many hydroxyl and hydrogen ion is there. So it's broken down. So hydrogen and hydroxyl ions are separated. So this is the ionization, and it takes part in many places in our cells, in many metabolisms in our cells, and it helps to maintain pH of the medium, especially in the body, in the cells as well. Now we will see lower density of ice. Water, when it becomes solidified, it becomes ice. So we know that ice floats on water, but water is having great density. So it is more dense than ice. So how does it happens that what ice floats on the water? So this property is very helpful while in winter, that aquatic animals can live under the liquid water. Up is the layer of frozen ice, frozen snow, which makes glaciers as well, and they can float over the water. So the structure shows ice is a giant structure which shows maximum number of hydrogen bonding among the water molecules. We can see here, 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 here. So this actually this one. So what happened in this one, they arrange in the lattice form. When they ice or water just come to 4 degrees Celsius, so what happened, its density, uh, it becomes too dense. Okay, because water molecules are coming closer due to reduce of the temperature. But after that, the water is going to spread and arrange them into this form, into the lattice form. And okay, so this is the property which is very important for the aquatic animals. Dear students, up to here we have discussed about properties of water, which to understand is very much important, because biomolecules, we know condensation and hydrolysis are the processes which are going on to make or to break these biomolecules. So let's start this our next topic about the biomolecules, and in that, first of all, the main one, we will talk about carbohydrates. So we know that carbohydrates are the part of our food, and that is having the source of energy. So it is made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen mainly, but it is also called hydrates of carbon. Hydrates of carbon means the carbon is associated with water or any compound composed of carbon, hydrogen, of oxygen, and in which hydrogen and oxygen are found in the same ratio. Like we can take glucose, C6, H12, and O6. So you can see that hydrogen and oxygen in these carbohydrates are present in the ratio as which is present in the water. If you just see this in water, that is H2O. So means H is in 2 ratio and O in 1 ratio. Okay, so you can just see this one, that if we just take the ratio of this, 6 ones are 6, 6 twos are 12, so this is 2 ratio 1. So hydrogen and oxygen is present in 2 ratio 1. That's why they are called hydrates of carbon. There are lots of molecules, for example, glucose and sucrose, which are present in H2O form, in 2 ratio 1 form, but there are certain other molecules which don't have the same ratio. For example, but some compounds containing hydrogen and oxygen in the same ratio as they are found in water are actually not carbohydrates. But if they are present in the same ratio, like here in cellulose and starches, so they are carbohydrates. But if we talk about this acetic acid, they are also present, like 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4. So that is also present in 2 to 1 ratio. But acetic acid and lactic acids, they are not carbohydrates. So there are some carbohydrates such are rhamnose, which do not have the ratio. For example, C6H12O6 is what? Glucose. But if O5, that is rhamnose, that is carbohydrate, but that is not present in this ratio, which is 2 ratio 1. So it is not important to have these ratios. So scientists have made a scientific definition, reviewed the definition of carbohydrates, that they are polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketone. Polyhydroxy means in the molecule hydroxyl group is present, OH group is present. Lots of OH groups are present. But aldehyde and ketone, what does it mean? So upon if they are, or upon hydrolysis, means upon breaking, they give polyhydroxyketone or polyhydroxyaldehyde. So you can just see from here polyhydroxyaldehyde. The main group of carbohydrate is carbonyl group, C double bond O, carbonyl group. So what happened with the carbonyl group? If one side hydrogen is attached and other side any R group is attached, so we can write here like this: carbonyl group, and here R, and here H, or we can change the just arrangement. So H and R, one side hydrogen group and other side is and that is alkyl group, or R. It means chain of carbon. Any number of carbon can be attached with this one. This is polyhydroxyaldehyde. But if here with carbonyl group. If you see here, C double bond O, here and here are both of the sides. This one is present, a chain of carbon, long chain of carbons are present, or these alkyl groups are present. So, sorry, these long chains of carbon is present, or any type of other carbon molecule is attached, no hydrogen. So that is called polyhydroxy ketone. So dear students, that's it for today. Inshallah, we will continue our lecture, next lecture from classification of carbohydrates. So till then, wish you all the best. Allah Hafiz.